Hi, I'm Carol Andrews for another episode of Southwest TV News. Here are some of the stories we've been working on for today's show. Swift Current Mayor and Council have voted in favor of approving a capital reserve bylaw. As SaskPower seeks to choose sites for a combined cycle gas turbine facility in the province, it's narrowed the list to Swift Current and Lanigan as the prime candidates. According to Environment Canada, the region has experienced more colder days than usual, and that trend will continue for the next few weeks. Thanks for joining us here today. The City of Swift Current is moving forward with a new financial strategy, and local taxpayers will feel the pinch. Swift Current Mayor and Council have voted in favor of approving a capital reserve bylaw. The new bylaw will involve continuing to use a portion of the annual light and power surplus, while instituting a modest annual increase in property taxes.
So the capital project levy and the chargeable equipment levy works out to 6%. And on an average home, an average being just a straight arithmetic average of residential homes in the city divided by properties, works out to $4.82 a month.
The new financial strategy will take effect this year and move the city away from relying so heavily on borrowing funds for capital projects. A strategy which the mayor says follows months of public discussion and the requests of many local residents who wish to see less reliance on debt as a way of improving Swift Current and its various amenities.
As we've talked about before, our property taxes and the services that we receive for those property taxes, like fire and police, and snow removal and all those general services, are subsidized by the revenue that we make off light and power to the tune of about $2.5 million that they subsidize operations. And our objective is to simply remove that subsidy and make it so that those are dollars that can be spent on capital items every year, so that we're not, if we need to buy a new ice machine for our rinks, if we need to buy a new grader for snow removal, that we don't have to borrow funds for that we can just simply pay cash for it. And that's the pickle that we've been in the last number of years. We're never going to avoid debt on substantial capital projects like water treatment plants or wastewater treatment plants, but for other projects, that's the difference between our community and other communities in terms of overall debt.
The new capital reserve bylaw will be in place for a 5-year term, at which time it will be reviewed by council and administration. An overall strategy which will likely not please everyone in the community.
A lot of the feedback that we've received individually or through having good, meaningful discussions, people get it and they understand it and they realize what our objective is and what we're trying to do. And certainly there's some folks that we're not going to be able to change their mind and they're not going to be convinced. And they see investing in playgrounds or parkways or things like that as wasteful. And the reality of it is any level of government could stop spending on anything and just put it in roadways or things that are sometimes nuisances on every day. But as we've maintained as a community, we have to continue to invest in all parts of it and not just not shut down some areas and focus solely on others, because you just create problems in other areas down the road.
The 2014 mill rate will be passed by City Council in May, with the new tax increases appearing on all property tax notices mailed out in June. SaskPower and the City of Swift Current have signed a new 18-month land deal. We have more in this report. As SaskPower seeks to choose sites for a combined cycle gas turbine facility in the province, it's narrowed the list to Swift Current and Lanigan as the prime candidates. Part of the selection process is to further investigate these locations for appropriate attributes, including access to water, environmental concerns, and the location of existing switching stations. SaskPower representatives made a formal presentation to Swift Current City Council on Tuesday and further discussed the project in question the following day at an open house at the Iplex, while meeting up with local residents. Bernie Bolin is the manager of stakeholder engagement and consultation for SaskPower, and says as the province continues to grow, so does the need for more energy.
SaskPower, through our supply development group, are always trying to manage the load growth in the province. And so what we've identified are two areas in the province, one around Swift Current and one up east of Saskatoon near Lanigan. Both those areas appear to have load growth that will require some additional generation support in the near future. So what we're trying to do is determine whether we have viable locations at those sites that we can get developed as soon as that load growth requires. In the short term, I think we're looking at about 600 megawatts required in the next few years, another 900 required in the next time frame.
Mayor and council gave the approval for an 18-month agreement with SaskPower, involving the option to buy a quarter section of land near the city's existing industrial and future waste landfill. An exciting prospect for the future growth of Swift Current.
I think certainly on my time on council, I don't think there's anything that's ever grabbed the attention of our community so much in terms of excitement and interest, knowing the impact that particular project could have in our community. And we've known all along. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be a business decision for SaskPower to make, but we want to do everything in our power to make the best case for that plant to come here.
Over $25,000 has already been received by the city, with SaskPower having an exclusive first option to buy the land in question for a total price of $170,500. A winning combination for all parties involved, as city officials hope the Swift Current site meets all of the required qualifications, with a number of amenities already in place.
With the type of facility that they're looking to build, water is a huge requirement for them, and the fact that we have not only the ability to provide them water through our wastewater treatment plant, but also through the expansion of our water treatment plant, I think hopefully is advantageous for us in our community.
Schaefer adds that if Swift Current is chosen, the local economy would benefit on a number of fronts.
I've heard numbers anywhere from $750 million to $800 million in total construction costs, up to 300 temporary workers for a 2 to 3 year period constructing a facility like that. And then afterwards, a pretty significant number of high quality, high paying jobs through SaskPower to operate the facility. So, as I've often said, one of the tough things that we faced in our little corner of the province here is we haven't had the oil and gas development in the Bakken that they've had in the southeast. And Yorkton's been fortunate with the canola crushing plants, and Battleford's had one of these, and of course things happening in the northern part of the province in the two big cities. So we haven't had potash or uranium or things like that. So this is a big deal for our community and our region, and really important.
SaskPower will select its location for a combined cycle gas turbine facility by 2016, with plans to be fully operational by 2019, and meeting the growing demand for power across the province. Hi, I'm Carol Andrews for SWTV News. And here are some of the stories we've been working on for this decade.
Team Norway.
The credit union Iplex in Swift Current was officially opened this past weekend.
If we were ever to lose the franchise, I doubt we would ever get it back.
Our fans here have been pretty good over the years, so hopefully we can keep it going because, it's a big part of our success.
The words are simply inadequate to express how I'm feeling tonight about people in this room, people in this community, my hometown of Swift Current, and people right across this great province of Saskatchewan.
We've been looking at a lot up there for 2 years. We didn't plan on coming out Monday. We planned on coming this morning, but then some people started to come Monday, and we thought if we want one, we better get there.
The opinions of the residents of Swift Current are very important to all partners exploring the concept of facility integration in our community.
Downtown Swift Current will be a hub of activity this summer with the city's new Market Square promotion. As we all await spring and milder temperatures, we now bring you this latest forecast update from Environment Canada. As we make our way towards the end of February, southwest Saskatchewan has experienced a much milder and drier winter than the previous year. However, according to Environment Canada, the region has experienced more colder days than usual, and that trend will continue for the next few weeks.
You know, it has been a tough winter. It's been a lot of intensity of cold, although my sense is that it's been broken up by these kind of thawing conditions, which have certainly helped. Maybe it doesn't seem that winter as long as it was, say, last year. I think one indication for me, though, is the intensity of the cold. I looked at the number of days where temperatures were below -20 in the Swift Current, southwestern Saskatchewan area. And there were 45 of those days, where you normally would see about 25 of them. So, you know, if you're complaining about the fact that it has been so cold, you know, you're not complaining needlessly, because it has been. Temperatures have been cold. I mean, really, since October was a tad cold, and certainly November, December. January was actually a bit of warmer than normal.
And as far as moisture levels, Phillips indicates we shouldn't be storing our shovels just yet, as 1/3 of the overall winter snowfall generally occurs between now and the end of March. He does, however, offer good news regarding spring's arrival.
As I look at the forecast for the next month and then into the first part of spring, it's showing a normal kind of spring. We have 3 possibilities in our forecast: warmer, colder, or something in between. It is that something in between. And so if that's the case, it's certainly going to be much more of a spring than you had last year, which could be measured in, I think, minutes or maybe a few days. But so I think there's going to be a legitimate spring this year, and then the snow will get off the ground. The farmers can get out there and onto their fields. But I think we're not going to be rushing to spring. It's going to take its time, and I always think that's good news. I mean, if you go from slush to sweat, well, then, you know, sometimes there could be flooding issues. You got to get rid of that excess amount of, you want to wet the ground to thaw out, you want that snow to melt. And my sense is that to have a bit of the kind of a spring that we might see this year, which is kind of easing into spring. We exited winter and go into spring.
The short-term weather forecast for southwest Saskatchewan is calling for cooler than normal temperatures, with a daytime high near the -10 degree mark. The normal high for this time of the year is -4. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at mylocaltv.ca. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.